Game 1 is done. Game 2 is on its way. Welcome back to the World Championship Series. Season 1, round of 32, Premier League. We are getting very close now to finding out which of our players advances to the round of 16. A winner's bracket game is coming up next. But first of all, we've got a terrific match coming up. Hold it, boys. I can feel the excitement at the desk already. Before we talk about our next two opponents, let's check in with the bracket and show you what we've had so far. Just the one game down. And Cyril, the 16-year-old Finnish player, has won his opening game in the Premier League in dominant fashion against the American Evil Geniuses player Suppi. So he goes through to the winners' final. Next up, of course, NaNiwa versus Haas. And we'll introduce the players very shortly. But first, Apollo's back at the desk. What did you make of Cyril's opening game? Very impressive, wasn't it?
Very impressive. It's good to see a new face do very well in WCS. He did play last season in WCS in the Premier League last year, but we didn't see him go through to the round of 16. But he looks like he's a force to be reckoned with today.
Yeah, absolutely. Stefano, you were a little circumspect with Cyril. Understandably,
I was totally wrong about him, and I appreciated the fact that he can adjust his play so quickly, because the first game he just responded randomly, let's say, with the Nidus, but second game he did it really perfectly, played against the strategy and the run bys, and everything was really well done. And yeah, he has talent. I think he has something. Excellent. Nice to hear from the Zerg Master. Thinks he's got some talent. Excellent. Haas versus NaNiwa next, and very interesting match for NaNiwa to have as his first game back in the Premier League. We've been talking about it all night. It's also very difficult for us to assess where he is, because all we've got is the 5 or 6 games that he's played in qualifier and the Challenger. And if we take it on that alone, he should be in good form, because he's beaten some good players. Mana in there, Happy, Nurcio to get through.
He's beating, or starting to beat and be consistent against the best in Europe again, or at least the good pros in Europe again. It's hard to know how he'll do exactly tonight, but there's a lot of expectations for him to do well.
Yeah, a lot of community expectation as well.
I mean, everyone's tuning in to watch him.
Absolutely. How did you cope with that community expectation? Because there was always a lot on you whenever you went to a tournament.
It's hard, and sometimes once they expect too much out of you and you don't do anything, you feel like it's a waste of time and you should just drop.
Did you block it out, or did you try and block it out?
I tried my best never to read comments or what people said, and I never checked Reddit ever in my life. And I think it's the best move to do, because you can get good stuff out of it, but mainly you will get bad influence if you check this
and in terms of coming back from a break, you've had a sort of break in the past and then come back and play the Story Cup and kind of got back into it. What's it like when you take a few months off?
I actually feel better after a break, because you get some distance to the game and you think differently, and when you get back into it, you have a new perspective, let's say.
Fresh motivation as well?
Absolutely, fresh motivation, and you really want to do well, and everything is perfect. It's a good word.
It's like a honeymoon period again.
Again, that's exactly it.
But you got oh, sorry.
Go ahead, please.
I was going to say, but the expectations are even heightened. They're more heightened than ever before, though, when you come back off a break.
That's the only issue you have, and that's the main issue NaNiwa will have, because if he loses today, it's gonna be it's gonna be awful for him, basically.
Everyone's expecting him to challenge for the title now, because when someone takes a break, there is a physical break of the months taken off, but everyone's like, okay, this is when he last played, this is him playing now. The last time he played, he was beating Koreans and he was the best guy. He was the one we looked at to do these magical things we've seen in tournaments, and then they fast forward through that break, and they're like, he's back, he's playing again, he's going to do those same things, and it is hard to do that, and it will be hard for those expectations to be on him today.
Is it unrealistic?
Soon?
I mean, knowing how we know what he's like, and we've known in the past, he's said, nah, I don't practice, can't be bothered with it.
I think
just
he
turn
wouldn't
up
have
and I'll win.
bothered to do a comeback if he didn't know he would do well. It's taking such a big risk if he goes in a tournament and he doesn't.
But for you and NaNiwa, who have both been looked upon as the best foreigners in the scene, the best non-Koreans, in this type of environment, at your peak, this was a walk. This is a walk in the park. This was an easy type of tournament. There's very little Koreans. It's the European scene. You were always on top of it, and always he was as well, NaNiwa. So technically, he should be doing well here, but it is balancing expectations which can get to him.
Confidence also plays a key. We spoke to him a little bit yesterday and today. He doesn't seem that confident, certainly not as confident as he was maybe 12 months ago. And that sort of goes for all of them in this group, Haas included. It doesn't seem very confident. Cyril didn't seem very confident before he played, but he played brilliantly. Suppi again said he was low on confidence. What have they got to do in this group to gain more? Is it just his first match and see how it goes?
Usually, it's because it's you sit down, if you can, even winning the first map is like, yep, okay, I can still do this. That is a good confidence boost. And losing the first map, the doubts do start to creep in, surely, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And for like, I can't even describe the pressure NaNiwa has. If he loses the first map, it's over for him, basically. It's just like over for him.
And we do know he's an emotional player too, right? He's very emotional, so.
It does play.
So expect a few keyboard broken and stuff if he loses the first game.
maybe not that bad. I think that was Sean in the break trying to make his keyboard work. Hopefully, I think the players are ready to be introduced. I'm just going to wait for confirmation on that. Apparently, they're not ready just yet, so we'll carry on talking about it. Let's talk about Has a little bit more. Interesting set of results for a young man as well. You know, a similar position to Cyril, but over in Taiwan and in Asia, on the SEA area. I mean, he plays with a lot of Zergs in that region, and that's got to help him against that PvZ. But in PvP, I don't know where that leaves him. What do you feel he has the opportunity to do in this group? Can he get out of it?
Yes, because NaNiwa's like growth back into the scene now is going to be much so around the Korean scene, studying from the Korean scene, and then kind of practicing with the European scene and style. Has plays a completely different style to both of those because he does his own thing. He plays on a different server. He plays with a bunch of different players doing their own thing. That would be the biggest surprise I would say that he'd have to look out for.
Okay, thank you very much, gents. We're going to take a quick break here at the desk and introduce you to our next two players in Group F. Our first player is just 17 years of age, but has an amazing amount of experience. Already claimed a top 3 position in the Taiwan Open in 2014. Please welcome Has. And our next man doesn't really need an introduction. I think you all know who he is. But just in case you don't, a double MLG champion from 2011, the #1 foreigner in 2013. Please welcome NaNiwa. So, map veto's incoming any moment. And we can start to talk about strategy between these two. How do you think it's going to play out, Sean?
For Has, I have no idea, and I don't think a lot of people would have an idea on what to expect from him.
A little bit of cheese, maybe, because we do see that region seems to. I'm not slighting them in any way, but they do play a little cheesier over there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he could already have planned out how he's going to play this series, whether it's going to be a proxy oracle, if it's going to be the standard blink play. I don't know what to expect. But on NaNiwa's side of things, unless he has something planned, reactionary style is going to be the best. So opening up with active units on the map, scouting, feeling out his opponent, and then starting to build a plan throughout the series.
Okay. From your own point of view?
I don't know Has, but I think NaNiwa has never been scared of all-inning and stuff, right?
No, absolutely not. Early in his career, he was literally a one-base all-inner, wasn't he?
Yeah, so I think it's perfect in this matchup, and like even if he has pressure or anything, he doesn't really care. So he will still like play his game, and that's like one thing I can say I appreciate about NaNiwa. Maybe the only thing is that he has balls when he plays.
Well put, Stefano. Well put.
Thank you.
He says the things we'd like to say but can't.
That's what he's here for. Thinking about it, do you think there'd be any pressure on Has? I mean, we've talked about the pressure that NaNiwa is going to be under, but do you think that because Has is the first player that NaNiwa goes up against on his return, do you think that this would? I mean, he's 17 years old. He knows who NaNiwa is.
Yeah, I think it's a great question.
I mean, I don't think it's any pressure for him. He knows he's a retired player. He knows Has knows NaNiwa practice for it, but he should be happy meeting a retired player, kind of retired player. And like if he met him 9 months ago, I would say, yeah, pressure for sure. But today, I think it's fine. No? Don't you agree with me?
I don't know. That's why I asked the question, man. I don't know.
It's a really interesting thought as well. And Has is he's in a weird kind of position for him because he's not known as the #1 player in Taiwan, but he's. I mean, we argued a little bit earlier about it, but he's known as the #2 player in Taiwan. He doesn't want to be known as the #2. He wants to be known as the #1. And we saw what Sen did the other day. He crashed out in half an hour in two matches, he was bulldozed out of WCS. Has won't want the same thing to happen to him.
Absolutely not. And to represent Taiwan, that's what WCS is about, isn't it? It's about representing your country, representing your region. And unfortunately, we can say it, Sen didn't quite do that yesterday. Has that opportunity to do it today.
Yeah, and almost take that #1 spot away by de facto, but because he moves on to the round of 16. I go to the round of 16, I'm #1 now. Yeah, exactly. We've spoken a lot about NaNiwa, but there's always more to talk about. His personality is obviously one of those things that everyone knows. He can be a bit feisty occasionally online, and he can be, like you said earlier. I think you made a perfect point. very emotional kind of player. What happens if he goes a game down in this?
It will hurt him. I think it will hurt him a lot. And so you could almost say, even though it's a best of 3, the first map could be the most important, win or lose. Like, it's to start going down that spiral. We've seen it happen before. If you think back to the before he retired, the last official match he played, we saw what happened then, and we saw what emotions can do to him. He's got to just keep level-headed. But that's the one good thing about taking a break is, look at Todd, for example. And he knows it. He's told me he used to be, a very aggravated, angry person, but taking a break, he was fine. He said to me, this is funny, Todd said, and the last time we worked at in Taiwan, he said, we didn't get any lunch today, and if I was a professional, I'd be so mad. But since I've retired, I don't care. I'll get lunch in an hour, I guess. So that kind of attitude does creep in, and NaNiwa's going to have definitely some of that in him because he has had that time off and has been doing other things. It's not been that stress for the last however long he's been.
Okay, predictions time.
Oh.
A tough one, I think, this one. Very tough.
I'm going to go with the Swede.
Okay.
And NaNiwa's going to win.
Why?
I believe in his return, and I think if he can't beat Haas, then why would he have come back to StarCraft?
Yeah.
Like, he's come back for a reason. He's got higher sights than just playing Haas.
Okay.
I feel exactly the same as Apollo. He would not have came if he knew he wouldn't be able to win. So NaNiwa for sure.
Okay, both of their experts going for NaNiwa in the opening game against Haas. Let's find out from our commentators what they think. Where we go over to the French NaNiwa, of course. Here's Todd with Colaris.
I don't know whether or not Todd appreciates that, but regardless, we have our PvP on the way here for series number 2. We've already had our Zerg versus Zerg. Time to turn our attention to another mirror matchup, and it's going to be NaNiwa versus Haas. Give us the lowdown here, Todd.
A lot of people talk about how cheesy Haas is, but he gave an interview just after qualifying. It was, I guess, a co-interview with Sen, in which Sen spent the entire time, basically, or the entire interview, talking about how cheesy Haas is. To which Haas simply replied, my PvP is fairly standard. Now, the question is, what is standard PvP? Because it's usually PvP can be pretty cheesy. So, Haas, he played against Hero in Taipei, Liquid Zero, and he had some pretty decent games. He ended up losing, but it looked, I would say, fairly standard compared to what he does against Zerg and Terran. He does the most ridiculous stuff against both. Liquid Bunny just wrote on Team Liquid in a live thread that Has on ladder proxy-gated him into his mineral line twice and beat him like that, which is definitely not usual. So in PvP, I mean, there's a few cheeses here and there with proxies that you can do, but I don't know. Especially if you play against somebody like him who has this image, if you're NaNiwa here and you're minimum careful, which I'm sure he's going to be to some extent, you should be in a good position to just beat him.
Yeah.
So lots of questions to be answered, I feel. And the first game, the first build order are going to be very important in deciding how the rest of the series is going to go in terms of pace and all that. And NaNiwa is a change man as well. I like that story with Apollo. It's a true story with me being a lot more relaxed, since I stopped playing. Pro gamer can be a stressful job at times. You feel like you have to practice all the time. Taking some time off is going to remind you that even if you don't practice all the time, just by looking at tournaments, studying games, watching other people play, you're going to be able to basically reflect upon yourself what you need to be doing to win without practicing a massive amount. And I think that's what happened with NaNiwa. Ever since his comeback, he's a lot more relaxed. He's made peace with quite a few people that he had trouble with. He's been playing pretty well for somebody who I don't think has been playing insanely massive amounts compared to what he played before when he was pro gamer.
That was something I was going to ask you next, which is, obviously we haven't really seen too many of NaNiwa's games as of late. The only series that we really saw was him going up against Nurture in the Challenger series. Going into Protoss versus Protoss, do you have any insight as to how NaNiwa's faring in this matchup?
I watched a little bit of his practice earlier. He was playing some customs with Harstem, so I saw a few different things out of him. It kind of felt like he was still trying a few things here and there, freestyling a little bit during games to try and figure out what he likes the best. It didn't seem like he had one build in particular that he thought just yet was what he was going to use no matter what. So he's probably not sure himself. And I feel like regardless of what he chooses to play, he just needs to pick one build, go for it, and his execution is really, really good. I was watching him go into late game stages during some of those games versus Harstem, and he didn't, even when he didn't win, I really, really liked the execution. You know, everything that he was doing, some War Prism harassment, the control of his units, the positioning, the decisions of whether to attack or defend.
Well, this is NaNiwa. He's been around for a long, long time. Not so much in the past 12 months, but of course, guys, he's back. Let's see how he's going to be able to fare against this man on screen. It is Haas, a gentleman that has been touted pretty well as one of the best Taiwanese players. I think that's safe to say. Yeah. He had a very, very strong upset against Jaedong quite a while ago now, but that was where he really rose to prominence and how people started to know about who he was, and that's where we got to have the insight into how he played those matchups a little bit crazy. So it's going to be very interesting to see what he's going to do here in this Protoss versus Protoss. One
thing to note about NaNiwa is that in PvP, I feel like he prefers to be leading the pace, which sometimes can be very difficult. It can mean, having to take a gamble here and there, which is not a good thing. He's definitely not cheese-proof. Remember those? He has some very tough games, actually. Back when he was playing against Doc, who was a WCS Europe regular, I remember he lost the first time that they played together, and then he ended up winning the second time. Might have been even in the World Finals, I'm not sure. But yeah, back then, I remember that those games that he had lost the first time really kind of crushed him mentally, and he was thinking, I'm better than this guy, why am I losing to him? He just kind of cheeses and got lucky. So Haas could be one of those guys that plays similarly to Doc in a way where, he picks one build that's a very, very aggressive one, and even though he categorizes it as standard, it's not always going to be all that standard. Everybody disagrees in PvP what standard is.
Yeah.
So when he actually said that his PvP is very standard in that interview that I saw of him, I was actually really wondering what is standard for this guy, and I guess we're going to find out.
Could mean anything. Well, it's going to be Vanny Research Stations to start things off. Then we will be going over to Overgrowth, pick being NaNiwa's pick, and Expedition Lost will be our third map if we need it, with the vetoes as being seen there. So for now, we're just waiting for second player to join our lobby, and then when we get in, we are good to go. And it looks like everything is almost ready here. Yeah. But I'm very excited about this. I'm very excited. I'm very interested to see how NaNiwa is going to be able to approach this group. I looked at this group to begin with, and even though the Nani hype is real across the board for a lot of people, I still give him a very, very good shot of advancing here. I don't think I have to agree with what Sean and Stefano said in saying there's no way he's come back just to lose.
Yeah, definitely not. He's actually practiced for this. Not exactly sure how much. He was practicing pretty hard backstage. He didn't even watch the first series. He was still playing games when I went in the practice room, and I'm sure he wants to win. He's been working out, man. Look at this. Look at those guns.
Damn. Well, let's see how they're going to be able to fare him as the Varney Research Station is about to begin. The ready's just being thrown out from these two players. This is good to go. And NaNiwa is just getting settled in. It takes a little while normally with NaNiwa, and no exception here, but he is ready.
Yeah. Playing on Vanny Research Station makes it very interesting as well, because this is definitely one of those maps where if you open in a standard way, and by that I mean, decently aggressive but not committing to an all-in, and you stabilize into the game, I really feel like this is going to favor NaNiwa a lot more than Haas.
All right, then the countdown's begun, and we're getting loaded up into game at number 1 in this best of 3. As Haas and NaNiwa are going to face off in this Protoss versus Protoss. The winner will go on to play against Serral in the winners match. The loser will fall down to play against Suppy here at the World Championship Series. Uh-oh. And spawning down to the south. Or even up to the top, up to the north. Oh, dear me.
They will meet.
They will meet. We have our red Protoss representing Yellow Flash Wolves. It is Haas. Look at...
They're both trying to dodge the... Oh, my God.
Oh, my good... Jiggity, jaggedy, what the... And down to the south, we have our blue Protoss, representing no one in particular other than Sweden. It's NaNiwa.
Skip the introductions, man. It doesn't even matter at this point. They both are going for a proxy, and usually when you meet your opponent's probe in the middle of the map, you're supposed to abort. By the look of things, they both still went across the map, But Has is aborting the proxy. He's made his pylon in his main, whereas NaNiwa said, you know what, I don't even care, you can proxy me, I'm going to proxy you, I'm going to out-micro you, I'm going to outdo you no matter what, and he's still going to go for the proxy gate at 10 across the map, and 4 now. I mean, this is just so much better for Has to have his gateway like this back at home. NaNiwa is already at a huge disadvantage.
Well, we'll see how this is going to play out. NaNiwa, as you said, has to out-micro and outperform in that location. Not only that, but he'll have a lot of probes available to him to try and buffer here, will Has, once the units of NaNiwa make their way into the main base.
The fact that Has still sent his probe across the map, he's reacted so much better to this. He's going to see the timing on the gas, he's going to throw down his own gas right behind this. He's basically just going to match NaNiwa's build, except he's making units back at home, so his defending capability is just going to be so much better no matter what. There's just a few informations that are going to be harder for him to get, like whether there is like only 1 or 2 zealots, because there should be at least 1 zealot. And in this case, Has is going to start cybernetics core immediately as soon as he can, and most likely start his zealot just right behind his.
Yeah, but second pylon actually got started for NaNiwa back at home a lot quicker here.
Yeah.
But that's really not ironing out the idea of some earlier aggression, because of course there will be zealots, but no stalkers if Has can buy some time, which should be able to kite the zealots indefinitely, technically, as long as no micro mistakes go down, as we saw in Taipei.
NaNiwa still didn't start his cybercore, even though he's mining from his gas for quite some time, so I really don't think that Zealot should be able to do much. Ooh, Has moved out of position here for a second, but NaNiwa can't go for it, because otherwise he might get surrounded. And the Stalker already starts for Has here. NaNiwa's score is not even halfway through done.
Tough stuff, tough stuff. He's going to go for the gas steal to try and round out the idea of keeping his opponent back and really away from any kind of form of tech from there on out, but takes the trade, doesn't come out on top of it. Does NaNiwa.
I mean, Has is... He's the guy who probably cheeses a lot more than NaNiwa. Let's just say that.
Probably.
And in this game, he knew exactly how to basically perfectly react to what NaNiwa was doing. And so far, the defense has been good. He's going to start moving out with his Stalker, see that there's just a pylon and a gateway there, a gateway that's not even making anything, which should tell him that there is a mothership core being made right now. There is a little bit of attack capability here for Has, especially since he doesn't have his second gas yet, but he needs to clear that first, no matter what.
Well, NaNiwa is going to actually throw down the Stargate behind this, as he had a little bit more access to gas compared to what we were seeing from Has on the other side. So he is further ahead in this regard, but Has could happily just keep making Stalkers and be well protected.
You know, the way that he went for double gas quickly and denied this gas from Has for such a long time. By the way, he's not finishing the gas here. Has. He's moving out right now. Why didn't he finish it? He definitely needed to do that. Okay, but taking 2 gases like he did against just 1 for the longest time, I mean, still now, it means that going for Stargates, your opponent cannot go for Stargates. So then, you can go for either Oracle or Phoenixes, like even an Oracle now, and your opponent will never have Phoenixes, which counter Oracles perfectly, so...
I think he's anticipating the fact that his opponent won't really have that many gateways at home after losing that first one. It's such an investment, so...
NaNiwa needs to throw down gateways right now. Even though he's going to have a photon overcharge to work with momentarily, he needs the production to make sure he doesn't die to the 4 gates of Has.
He's got a lot of chrono boost saved. It really needed to be able to deny this from actually getting up the ramp, but it did, and there is a probe still sneaking back. It can actually throw a pylon down on this right-hand side if he wants to. Ooh, don't die!
Oh my god. This is
Close.
actually... I guess there is another pylon right outside, but now the Oracle of NaNiwa is going to start flying across the map. This might force 2 or 3 Stalkers being warped in across the map, which will be a win for NaNiwa. But again, he needs more gateways than this. Throws down 1 more. He has 1 Void Ray on the way, which is going to help against the Stalkers. He's going to have to pull some probes for sure to defend.
He just warped in aggressively, and now he has nothing at home to deal with the Oracle.
Typical Has.
Well, he needs to make a Phoenix or something. He has to Stargate himself, but he's going to lose so much.
Yeah. He's all in here. And it really comes down to NaNiwa pulling the probes, barely holding and winning, or just dying from this. And I think he should be able to hold unless he messes up.
Oh yeah, he's doing a lot of damage to that probe line already. At least Has gets himself the 1 pylon, which slightly supply blocks there NaNiwa for a while. So but this Void Ray needs to do a lot of work. The probes are going to buff for it. He's going to lose a lot of probes in turn.
He started the second Void Ray. I don't think I disagree with this. Yeah, he had to cancel 1 of the buildings. He needs more units from his gateways here to barely hold and win.
Yeah, losing all the probes actually was a kind of a blessing in disguise, not waiting for the pylon and then getting out of that supply block situation, as he can have some more units. The force fields onto 3 of the Stalkers, picking those up. Very, very well done there by NaNiwa for this defense. And it's only 3 Stalkers left. They can't defeat that. GG! Game number 1 goes to NaNiwa. He could barely believe it himself.
A sigh of relief here. I cannot believe that Has not only didn't clear out that second assimilator, but then went for a Stargate anyway. I mean, it was kind of predictable that NaNiwa would go for the Stargates because of what I explained. The thing is, even though you can predict it, you shouldn't go for your own Stargate because you're not going to have the gas to make one Phoenix and make Stalkers at the same time. So now he had the choice to make. It was already too late to make a Phoenix to defend against the Oracle. He made Stalkers, and the defense was just good enough for NaNiwa back at home to hold and clinch a win in that first map.
All right, well, we're going to be going on to go Overgrowth for game number 2. And, yep, that game was the return of NaNiwa to Premier League. So welcome back, NaNiwa. It was quite an interesting one. Not exactly what I was expecting, but certainly pretty fiery all the same. And the decision-making in the end won out. Has, if he'd have warped in a few Stalkers defensively, he could have continued that on, but...
Yeah, but then the attack would have done so much less. Like, he would have died across the map with his Stalkers against the one Void Ray. He had like 2 Stalkers there.
I guess you fall back to a safer game then as Has and try and do something a bit more, but... Anyway, we're getting on to Overgrowth. The countdown has begun to get into game number 2 for NaNiwa and Has. NaNiwa leading 1-0 in this match. If he wins another, he will be moving on to the winners game here as we get on to Overgrowth. I can't believe it. Let's get into it. Game number 2, guys. Here at the World Championship Series. As Has and NaNiwa face off. Down to the bottom left-hand corner, it is our red Protoss representing Yo Flash Wolves. It is Has. And up to the top right-hand corner, it's our blue Protoss. Representing Sweden, it's NaNiwa.
I think we are just finding out exactly what standard PvP means for Has, Skylaris.
Yeah, I guess so.
And NaNiwa, if he scouts this and doesn't go for a super greedy build, I'm really going to like his position in this game, because if you see this, well, it just becomes so much easier to defend against it. The thing is, NaNiwa in the past, on quite a few occasions, has been that very greedy Protoss. Him and Sase, man, they hate sending a probe across the map and lose those few minerals to get some information. And by the look of things, it's not going to be a scout after the gateway. So this is a very, very strong proxy here that he's going for. It's going to be the single gateway, usually with 1 to 3 zealots into a 3 or 4 gates.
And
he's going to clear at least his main.
Has was checking for proxies himself on the other side with that probe down there, just making sure that nothing too crazy was going on. He didn't see anything traverse across the map anyway. They didn't bump into one another, but NaNiwa only checks his main and nothing else.
Yeah, went for double gas. If he saturates that heavily, that means he's not going to be able to start a Zealot, because you want to start a Cybercore as a priority here. So NaNiwa could be in a bit of trouble here. He's very good at micro, but look at this. 3+3 already on the gases. How does he start a Zealot? Oh, he's going to go for the scouts.
A little bit late.
Yeah, as the Zealot comes out here for Has, he's at least going to see a second one start, or is he?
Yeah.
It goes down, he's going to see it. He needs to start his own Zealot ASAP, then get the Mothership Core, and then start getting Stalkers out.
Well, Has's game plan was to wait for 2 Zealots there, but his hand has been forced. He's going to have to walk in with his first Zealot and see how much he can get done. Otherwise, NaNiwa would have had a little bit more time to prepare.
NaNiwa already has enough gas, by the way. He definitely needs to pull some of those walkers off the gases. Doing 3+3 here is absolutely useless. He has enough gas to start Warp Gate, Mothership Core, and a Stalker here. Oh, he's fighting with 1 Zealot against 2.
Ooh, Probe's going to have to buff up. And they're not doing too badly. They're actually doing really, really well. The micro was very good there by NaNiwa. He loses the first probe of the game. Second one ends up falling as well. That Zealot still wants to really get swipes off on that very, very weakened one there of Has's. And the Mothership Core is now out, so that will give him quite a bit of defense.
Has is ahead on the Stalker count here with 1 against NaNiwa, who's still getting his first one. Second one on the way here as well for Has. I think he's going to go up the ramp when he has 2. And at the same time, the much earlier Warp Gate that he has, actually not that much earlier.
Todd, there's another probe moving out into the middle of the map. Where is it going? What is his plan
I think
here?
he wants to plant down the pylon closer, because he's going for the 3 gates. You see, he doesn't have the economy to quite go for 4 gates. So it's going to be a 3 gates all-in behind this, and he wants to have a pylon closer, most likely up the ramp, outside of the photon overcharge range, just in case it was to finish. I mean, this is a massive all-in transition out of Haz. It's definitely not going to slow down anytime soon. I'm surprised that NaNiwa hasn't thrown down any extra gateway, by the way. Only 2. Here, he just has to kite, trade, force the photon of a charge, pull back, and then go for the kill once the photon of a charge ends with a far superior Stalker count. Right now, NaNiwa is in so much trouble.
Extra gateways have been added on for NaNiwa. He's trying to get this going as quickly as possible, but Warp Gate tech will be finished up soon here for Haas. There's the photon overcharge.
Oh, nice target on the Stalker. Not gonna get it though.
Oh, he redirected for the Zealot. He could have got that Stalker, unless it was out of vision. No, it shouldn't have been out of vision because the Mothership core was there.
Yeah, I think the third gate was really, really late here for NaNiwa. Look at this. He's already on 3 gateways. He's gonna morph them, start warping in Stalkers 3 by 3. As soon as that photon overcharge ends, he's gonna be getting right back in there, targeting Stalkers, kiting. Propulse not really gonna help anymore when there is a far superior number of Stalkers. And NaNiwa, I really don't see how he's gonna be able to get out of this one. Maybe if he pulls a lot of probes and gets a sentry to force field the ramp, but even then, Haz warps in Zealots, trades well enough for this to be totally worth it. And behind this, I mean, he's already taken another gas and actually gone for a 4th gateway. This is not...
Oh, wow.
That's not even a proper transition. That's a transition into the 3rd wave of all-in that you can do in this case.
Yeah, well, the Stalker numbers here, not too bad for NaNiwa, but excelling for Haas, who will target down 1 pylon to start things off. Some probes actually got pulled off the line, but it's good focus fire there by Haas to bring down the weakened Stalker as it moves forwards. He's going to keep going with this fight. The Mothership core needs to help out. The probe's buffering, and if he can eliminate these Stalkers on the high ground, then maybe he can move forwards. But the Mothership core goes very, very far forwards. That second volley could have been on the Mothership core. He's going to get it anyway. He ends up realizing that is the case. And all the probes come off the line now for NaNiwa, who is in a lot of trouble. He's lost tons of probes at this point. 11 have fallen.
NaNiwa is on 5 Stalkers, 4 against 5 now. If he barely holds this, he's going to be okay, but it's still 12 probes to 20. He needs to force field. Oh, it's going to be very cost effective now. The thing is, again, 12 probes to 20 is such a tricky position to be here for NaNiwa. But at least he held.
Yeah, he
was really
held,
sick.
Technically. But now the mining is really going to hurt. Still, there is a pylon to warp in from. These Stalkers have laid claim to the high ground.
Haz knows that here every unit he can trade any Stalker for is definitely worth it. He's going to get even 2 more Stalkers, and NaNiwa
nice
is just going to be so far behind.
With just those 2 Stalkers, and he actually sends the extra Stalkers that were less weak into the front, so he can actually get a few more pot shots off on this army. Loses the Stalker, but there you go, GG. As Haas takes game number 2 here in this PvP, and is really not slowing anything down. He is just going straight for the gut here.
NaNiwa is known to be a very emotional player. Now, after a loss like this, let me tell you, you're not happy if you're NaNiwa. You won the first game against somebody who was going to cheese. I mean, as much as you were going to cheese as well, you know that he was going to cheese. So you think that in the second game, he's less likely to do it. You clear your main, it's in natural. The only thing you can be thinking here as NaNiwa is, how did I get so unlucky? And why is this guy still trying to cheese me? Even though he knows that supposedly that this shouldn't particularly work unless he gets very fortunate. This has to bother NaNiwa right now.
Well, 3rd game is going to be on Expedition Lost. And do we see probes move out early? It's the big question. We keep getting into these games and all of a sudden Haas really just wants to go for it.
I don't think so. You know what? I'm going to say there's not going to be a proxy here.
From neither of them. Well, let's get into things. Game number 3 now on Expedition Lost. As it's 1-1 here between Haas and NaNiwa. Off the back of some crazy 2 games. As we have spawning up to the top right-hand corner, it's our red Protoss representing your Flash Wolves. It is Haas. And down to the bottom left-hand corner, our blue Protoss representing Sweden. It's NaNiwa.
Looks like we're going to see a proper PvP. Oh well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's see. Let's see where they go from. I guess that usual non-proxy in that final and 3rd map of this series. NaNiwa, honestly, I really feel like he'd be a lot more comfortable going into a longer game, a standard game. Any time he can take an expansion up against a Haz that will expand himself, I think NaNiwa would be happy to play it out because he's got quite a bit of experience with it. He's a lot less cheesy than Haz, no matter what the matchup. NaNiwa knows how to take it the distance. He also has a lot of experience. Like, say if they were to be in a situation where something crazy happens and, DTs are dropped and they go into some kind of base trade. NaNiwa, just generally speaking, I feel like he has so much experience in those high-pressure situations. I mean, he's the guy who, best of 5 against Sion in the final game went for the double gate proxy.
Oh, yes. I remember that all too well over in Intel Extreme Masters New York. And at least he's checking his main base. But Haas is going to check everywhere.
Yeah.
He checked a lot of locations there to make sure NaNiwa wasn't bringing any tomfoolery to this third game.
He went very far out, actually, with his probe. To just make sure nothing too crazy happens. NaNiwa did 3+3 very early on the gases, and Haas is only on 2 on the first one with a late second gas. So NaNiwa, every time I see that, the first thing I'm thinking is Stargates. It's not always going to be a Stargate. Sometimes, it can be a Sentry expansion with a Mothership Core. Sometimes it can be a Twilight, but Stargate is my first thought here. He even went for it in the first game when he had 2 gases sort of early, considering it was open with a proxy. So we'll see.
And Haas is going to stick around, making sure that if anything did get thrown down really early, or if there was a missing pylon or something like that, he would know about it. Now, obviously, right now there isn't, but over on his side of things, he's not really doing too much craziness. He's actually thrown into 3-3 now, so he is catching up in that gas, but he's always going to be a little bit behind.
Yeah, Mothership Core starts earlier here for Haas, just a little bit earlier. But again, the gas of NaNiwa already shows. You see, they started the exact same things. There is about a 60 gas lead here for NaNiwa, which is actually a pretty massive deal, I feel. So third pylon is going to go down behind his middle line, and we have a Twilight Council there for NaNiwa. What's Haas' choice going to be? I think Stargate, I guess, because he hasn't made anything yet, and he has above 100 gas. So Twilight against Stargate. Should be better for the Twilight, but that's assuming NaNiwa realizes that he's up against a Stargate and doesn't take any damage from the potential Oracles, because I'm pretty sure this is going to be an Oracle here out of Haas.
And just you wait for it to be DTs, man. If NaNiwa actually wants to go full balls to the wall here in this series,
I think he's going to be Blink. Yep. But sometimes, you never know. He's actually... Haas is making a pylon on the map, so Haas is actually going to hide the Dark Shrine behind his Oracle, I think. It's very early in the game, but it's Haas. It's just the way he plays. It's just the way he likes to play.
Yeah, the probe's sticking around, so it does add a lot of validity to what you're saying, as that probe is going to make something in a little bit. He has quite a bit of gas. It's going to go into the Oracle, though, to start the harassment, and Stalkers have already positioned themselves well to greet that, at least. So even though the Mothership Core is on the other side, Phone Overcharge is very useful, but the Stalkers are already well placed.
Oh, NaNiwa is going to see the Oracle here being made. One additional gateway, which is, by the way, a little bit late just because he made a Twilight on the map. If NaNiwa realizes that, he basically makes sure he stays at home, makes sure he's safe, which he should do anyway because there is an Oracle on the map. And there is already a Robo on the way. And NaNiwa actually in the past, he's been known to try and adjust a little bit too much sometimes. I remember this one game against him at a DreamHack on Whirlwind where I hit a Dark Shrine on the map, and he had seen my build that I wasn't playing with the 20 Twilight Council, and he cancelled his Robo. And he ended up losing because of that. And I think that made him a little bit more paranoid later on, and now he's a lot more careful for that stuff not to happen. So I'm pretty sure he's not going to cancel the Robo. It's just going to finish. From there, he's going to get an Observer. And as long as he stays at home and defends, he's going to be in a great position in this game. No matter what, he can just expand from there. He can even go for aggression. Leave an Observer plus the Mothership Core back at home. Send the Stalkers plus another Observer across the map.
Wow, and Haas actually going for Blink as well as Dark Shrine. So obviously he saw the Blink whirring away for NaNiwa on the other side. Maybe he wants it to combat that. But NaNiwa has a pylon there as well. The Observer is on the way. But the Observer might be on the other side of the map when a Dark Templar actually enters his base. So he's going to have to be very, very careful here.
I don't think he's going to be, because he's actually rallied the Robo on top of his Stalkers. That means he's going to want to rejoin them. Yeah, you see that line right there? He's actually, okay, I guess he wants to go across the map. Usually you still get a second Observer. This is going to be a tricky situation. If a DTs find its way into the middle line of NaNiwa, getting a second Observer out is going to take a while, and then he must start losing walkers left and right. So the thing is, I really like what Haas doing, by the way. He's making sure that there is no Observer back at home for NaNiwa before he warps in a DT. He waited a very long time before he warped that in.
Well, it's on the way now. At least NaNiwa should be able to force some kind of cancellation. All of the money from Haas is basically in tech.
That DT, Kyle Harris.
There's no Observer.
It's in there now. NaNiwa's going to have to run around now. with his probe. He's actually not doing that. Ooh, 4 already killed.
Oh, good positioning on those Stalkers, but they did get forced out of position there eventually. As they start Templar is going to keep chasing around.
It's already 29 walkers for Haz and only 21 for NaNiwa. So even though Haz, his expansion is going to be delayed a lot, I guess he's in an okay position, having Blink himself here about to finish. It's 9 Stalkers to 9, Kylaris.
And having to be forced to cancel the Nexus was actually quite useful because he was able to have a little bit more money for the Stalkers that are out here. Of course, that's ramped up now, but he blinks forwards aggressively, chasing some of those Stalkers of NaNiwa, taking quite a bit of damage on the retreat out.
Okay, NaNiwa now, he knows that he's up against Blink. He knows that he's up against Haz. He needs to be careful that Haz actually expands and doesn't go for one base all in which case he could be in a bit of danger, even though he has a photon overcharge. He's getting an Immortal. Remember, by the way, there is the back door that Haz could play with on this map.
Ooh, he's trying to get that weakened Stalker. Focus, and he does grab it. And
he
now,
has so many Stalkers. He has 12 against 8.
Yeah. There's a lot of potential for him to do some damage.
I really like that NaNiwa went for the triple sentry, by the way. This is very standard in PvP. When you expand, especially if you anticipate your opponent is going to expand as well, which, by the way, hasn't started for Haz. You get 3 sentries and you have some hallucinations to walk with. You can scout across the map, see exactly what your opponent's doing. And with an Immortal here, NaNiwa really should be fine. He even has Guardian Shield to work with.
Yeah, no Sentry here for Haz to actually control this ramp. So this will mean that NaNiwa, with the Photon Overcharge and the Immortal, can push this away very easily. And Haz behind this has no expansion.
Yeah, and he has the money for it. I really don't know why he isn't starting one. All of a sudden, NaNiwa's moving across the map. Even though he has 21 probes against 29, he's still keeping up with the income, especially if he was to transfer some of those probes. And he's going to start and look for the Dark Shrine here, possibly, at least for one of the pylons here near his base. I thought for a second he might go for a counterattack, but I guess not for now. A good thing that NaNiwa could do right now is warp in a Zealot across the map, walk it inside of the main of Haz so that he can see not only the timing on that expansion, but if there is any additional tech going down in the main, or anything really.
Work account technically in Haz's favor, but obviously his Nexus on his natural isn't finished up.
NaNiwa saw the Oracle flyby at the top with the pylon that he had there, so he might go for the blink. He should get it.
Oh, there was a volley then a blink as well. Very well done there by NaNiwa to actually pick that up. So he eliminates one of the extra threats. Now all he has to be worried about for a period of time is the front of his base up until those rocks may go down at the back. But there's not even an observer out here for Haz at the front, so he doesn't have to worry about them blinking around and being crazy.
Because NaNiwa sniped that Oracle, he might just go for an attack here. Yeah, he's warping in Stalkers across the map. He wants to be aggressive here, possibly. He's still thinking about it, not moving with his main army because it's revealed. So I guess he's just going to go back. But there was an opportunity here for him to do damage, especially if he had realized that there was no Robo yet for Haz. It literally just finished now, which means there's not going to be any Immortal on time to defend any kind of upcoming attack. So right now, the best thing that both players can do is throw down a Forge, get some upgrades going, and here we go. They both are going to make it at the same time, get some upgrades going, possibly take to Colossus, or charge a lot Templar. I think Colossus is better, but we did see Rain go for the Storm build and pull it off pretty nicely here and there. NaNiwa, though, if he realizes that there is not only a Twilight Council, but a Dark Shrine on the map, and goes and kill it, he's going to be in a great position in general, because Haz has to remake at least the Twilight Council so that he can keep his upgrades going, add on Archons later on and all that.
I was going to find it, though. I guess he's got to just walk around and eventually try and find it. It's a bit difficult, but...
Yeah, he has a bunch of sentries, so as much as he's used some energy, one of them actually has a hallucination available right now. He could literally fly that around the map, and he's seen most of the map, by the way. He only has the bottom right-hand side and the top left-hand side to check for. And surely he knows that there is a Twilight somewhere, unless it was to be on the right-hand side of Haz's main, which he hasn't seen as well. But a lot of the time here, it's fairly straightforward what you should be doing in terms of at least looking for it. Doesn't cost you much effort, and if you find it and kill it, you're in a great position. Oh, NaNiwa, the 4 Stalkers hit squad. This is old school.
Does he have the ability to actually jump up and have vision into the main base, though?
He can send an hallucination to spot there, or he could just take out this ice, I guess.
Yeah, actually, that's not in vision, so Haz would be kind of surprised by that. NaNiwa sees the Stalkers at the front, and with 2 Immortals, as well as a Sentry or 2 for some force fields.
NaNiwa is riding a hallucinated Phoenix across the map right now.
Yeah, he actually blinked very, very aggressively against those. That was kind of ambitious, but...
Look at this, Haz is hiding a Templar Archive. He wants to go for the Rain build.
Oh, damn.
The Storm Research, the Templar drop, and the Storms.
As well. Oh, that Immortal. came out at the right time, and he was in the right spot. So
Get off my lawn.
Yeah, can't. You damn stalker kids. Oh well, they're going to have to jump out in a little bit. There's plenty of gateways being added on here by Haas as well.
You know, in this situation, I give a massive edge to the guy on Colossus tech, which I guess is going to be both of them because Haas is still getting a robo. Because I can't believe that Haas is getting every single tech possible, like out of one base and then two base. Like, this guy is just nuts. It's so hard to play against him. He had tech all around the map. I'm starting to wonder whether he actually wants to go for Templars here, because going for the robo bay anyway, the way he did it, he's going to need so much gas to get Colossus and Storm. So I guess this Templar Archive is just going to be one building that he has hidden from now. But he might have just changed his mind. Realized that Storm might not do much on this map, because it's very hard to drop Templars unspotted and kill anything.
He might look to blink into the main. He actually has the Warp Prism there to help out. It has High Templar in it with the Storm drop available. Wait, did he even get Storm yet?
No, he didn't. He just
okay.
That's what I'm saying. He pretty much aborted for now and chose to go into Colossus instead.
Even if it's not for the Storm drop, it's actually quite useful to get feedbacks on Mothership cores and stuff like that if you go into a direct engagement.
The thing is, like, it's a pretty big investment in gas, and he already had the Dark Shrine to get some DTs possibly, so it's a bit weird all the way, you know, this has been going. Neither players are getting an overwhelming amount of probes, by the way. It's 53 for Haas, 49 for NaNiwa right now. And Haas is actually the one starting a third base earlier than NaNiwa.
NaNiwa's on the way, though. He's going to get his third base up in just a second. Probe actually spots that for Haas straight away, so at least he gets confirmation of that and knows he's a little bit ahead, but the two High Templars in that Warp Prism get picked off. NaNiwa with a lovely little pickup. But the funny thing is he doesn't know how good a pickup that was. He only got a Warp Prism. He's like, well, yeah, cool, I got a Warp Prism, but the two High Templars were hidden.
Yeah. I mean, this is just great here for NaNiwa. Picking this off the way he did, all of a sudden, he's quite a bit ahead in supply. And, I mean, if you're Haas here, you've been trying to basically pull every trick in the book.
Yeah.
Not just in the first two games, in that game as well. And so far, NaNiwa has been a rock. He's held against everything that's been thrown at him. So that makes it very difficult, you know, to take a decision into what to try next. And I guess playing a lot more standard would be a choice, and Haas, I guess, agrees with that because he gets a second robo, and he's going to be a double robo Colossus by the look of things. Which, if NaNiwa realized, I wouldn't be surprised if he went into something like Tempest. I've expanded on this in the past, remember? I've said you either need to get your own second robo or go for Tempest tech. And that nice cancel, but he should lose some stalkers for this.
Yeah, he
and even reveal this. Oh my god. If charge was to be cancelled and a Dark Shrine snipe, this will be a massive win for NaNiwa, who has way more army.
Yeah, he's pushing on forwards, and this is going to do quite a bit of damage to this army. He's also coming in from the left-hand side to do that, but he's not going to spot the buildings. Oh, he was so close to
He knows that
spotting
there is at least one pylon because Haas just walked in there. NaNiwa, come on, where's your game sense?
He may have overlooked it, but his army supply is 99 against 56. We may see NaNiwa on the warpath, unless he's misjudging this situation, but he's moving out quite far.
Because of all he has killed, he's definitely thinking about attacking right now. The thing is, I don't think... Where is his mothership core? Where is it, NaNiwa? Okay, he's bringing it with him, so I guess it will make sense to attack, and if in case he was to get in trouble, he could just recall out.
Storm is just about to finish up for Haas here, and he no doubt has two more High Templars in there. Actually, the High Templars, if NaNiwa was paying attention, was spotted at the natural just before, or quite a bit ago, in fact. So, but he's going to move straight to the third.
I can't believe Haas still has gone for this, even though he was quite a bit behind here. And I think that third base by Haas is about to die unless NaNiwa does something crazy like a recall back at home, but he's warped in enough units to defend there. I really love NaNiwa's position right now in this game.
His army's so strong, so strong. The Zealots are going to be defended at his third base. This third base falls very rapidly, and he's actually going to spread himself out in the concave, throws down the time warp for the engagement.
Yeah. NaNiwa might just go for the kill here. He saw the army of Haas. He saw that he's quite a bit smaller than his. The thing is, he doesn't even have to go for an attack if you think about it. He's not going to be on 3 bases. He is on 3 bases against a 2-base guy. And that Warp Prism, if it flies below there and goes for the natural, it's going to be spotted. Has his best chance to kill something is to drop there and storm these probes. But there is one charge lot, one Archon, and one cannon, and not really that many probes.
Well, he's moving forwards again here. He has all the room in the world just to max out and then go, but implements the Colossi at the front to try and do a bit of damage to those cannons.
Yeah. He might use the back door if he wanted, but I guess he thinks he has enough, and he might just have enough.
Yeah, he may do. He's moving forwards with those Archons, being a little bit more careful, a little bit more cautious, and with this extra wave, he's getting very close to max. Storms will go down on all of these probes, but if he just maxed and goes now with losing 8 probes, he's going to pull back.
Only 8 probes killed with that storm drop. All of a sudden, we have a NaNiwa on 139, army supply to 76. Could just use the back door and attack from 2 sides, really. I think he might just do that. Haz is suspecting, though.
It's funny, because even separating up his army here, he'd still have more at the front to actually crush the army.
Actually, he's not suspecting. He's not moving to right-hand side, so he moves out.
He has, he has no forewarning of this. This whole army is just going to get up there.
And Haz his mind out in the main. He's overly saturated and the natural, so I mean...
dear. He's so far out of position. He could get the +3 weapons as well if he wanted. Everything is going to get absolutely ripped apart in this main base. One Dark Templar is going to get warped in to try and do something about this, but he has a very little army to his name to begin with. Not only that, but NaNiwa's army is already spread out in a good concave to greet this as it moves up. It's 121 army supply against 50, and there is absolutely no answer here for Haas in this game, as his entire army is going to get pushed back. And NaNiwa is going to retreat out for just a second. He thinks he's done enough there.
Yeah, he's got quite a bit of money. He can just regroup, go for another wave of attack. He thought he might be held for a second, but I mean, even if he was, it wouldn't even matter. He's got quite a few units back at home. GG!
There you go. NaNiwa moves on to the winners game and will be playing against Cyril in Series 4 of the night. And Haas with the crazy series there. Unfortunately, he will fall down to the lower bracket game to face off against Suppy for elimination.
What a rock, man. You can try as many things as you want against this guy, unless you really catch him off guard and he somehow barely doesn't scout your proxy. You're not going to beat him by trying to cheese him like this. Has learned that the hard way. He really made everything this game, like every single tech building that you can think of.
Yeah, quite a lot.
The only thing he didn't do is Tempest, but I guess he would have had even less army supply if he had done that. He was already quite a bit behind.
Well, not only did he have a very small army, also, of course, but NaNiwa played just a very standard mid-game to go-to of Protoss versus Protoss there, and no trickery was really involved on NaNiwa's side of things. He was just hammering it home, as you said, very solid.
The defense, I would say, was pretty much perfect, other than that second observer, which he didn't have. But I guess it's really hard to tell whether they could be DTs when you only see an Oracle and you're not really sure what your opponent is doing. It would have been the safe choice, but at the same time, an observer can be a big investment. So in the end, he just fell to 21 probes to 29, but he did have a Nexus, and he exploited his lead very well. A lot of people, would have been too passive. We even saw games like this yesterday where people played too passive and had an advantage. Not NaNiwa. He knew when to attack, he knew when to defend, and in the end, takes a very nice win.
Yeah, read the game nicely. I mean, even when he was poking forwards with those Stalkers with the Observer, they gave him the inkling that there was a lot of Stalkers on the other side, so making those Immortals to defend as natural as well was something that really did help. So overall, a good series there from NaNiwa. Moving on to the winners match, and that pretty much wraps things up for these two series as NaNiwa moves on. It's going to be very interesting to see how he faces off against Cyril. Considering what we saw from him going into the Challenger match against Nurchio, does Cyril stand a chance there?
I think definitely, but NaNiwa is also going to be happy about playing a Zerg now, because it's always been his favorite, I feel. He's always done quite well against them, so I think he should match up well against Cyril. It should be interesting games.
And then on the other side, of course, of this group, Haas versus Suppy. Who do you think really has an edge? Do you think it's going to be the craziness of Haas coming out, or do you think Suppy's going to be able to react to that in time?
The thing is, with the craziness of Haas and how cheesy he is against Zerg, which is going to be 10 times more than against Protoss, it's predictable. So if you're Suppy here and you've done your homework, you've studied Haas, you kind of know what to expect in a way. So it's going to be about the reactions and the preparation that he's had to basically determine how well he can adjust to Haas style and try and beat him.
All right, well, that does it from us here at the Caster's Desk. Let's head over to the analysis one with Red Eye.
Thank you, Calaris. Yes, Johan, well played. Congratulations on the win. A hard-fought win in the end, but a bit tricky as well. You weren't very confident going into this series. Tell me why.
I've always hated PvP as far as I remember. So if you don't like it, you will practice it less, which makes you lose confidence, of course. And well, I lost like 10-0 in practice today.
You lost 10-0?
Yeah, against my Protoss practice partner.
Wow.
So I didn't feel very confident, I guess.
Okay. Was that Harstem? You playing with Harstem at the moment?
I play with Harstem today, but I beat Harstem, and then I lost to, I don't know if you know him, Theo.
Okay. Yeah, that's tough coming in with the confidence then. So how do you put that out of your mind, going up on the stage, playing as such a guy you know can be dangerous in the cheese?
Basically, it doesn't matter how bad I do in practice. Like, when it comes to tournaments, I have a lot more experience than most. And even if I'm worse than them, like in pure skill, I think I have a really big edge when it comes to the experience, as I said.
Yeah.
So I think I can still beat like all players.
Okay. And has that carried on? I mean, you've had a break now for, 9 months or so. You've gone off and played some heroes, come back. And it seems like you've never been away. When we watched you through the qualifiers, we watched you in Challenger against Nurcio.
I didn't plan to take it very seriously when I came back. Like it was like I played League and like Heroes for a year, as you said, and then I'm feeling like some StarCraft. So I just like ladder a few games, and then I lost, of course, and then made me play more to win, you know. And then before you know it, you're like rank 1 GM, and you're like,
Before you know it, rank number 1 GM.
Yeah, just like that, just
no,
easy,
but
right?
of course it takes a lot of practice.
Yeah.
But my favorite part has always been the process. Like you study your opponents, you practice, you learn new build orders. Like that kind of thing has always been very fun to me. So the practice part is not a big problem for me.
And you've always been very competitive. That competitive fire in you, in the sense, like you say, you lose,
Yeah.
you just don't want to lose
Well,
anymore.
It works both ways. I'm sure everybody has figured out by now that it's not just like a bad thing. That of course I get upset when I lose, but it also makes me practice like way harder and makes me try really hard. So
I mean,
it's
Stefano
about finding a balance.
Yeah, Stefano was talking earlier about the fact he never reads anything, but I know you do. Does that fire you up? Do you think when you see bad comments and you think, yeah, Naniwa's rubbish or whatever,
Yeah, of
or he's
course.
playing bad? Are you fired up by that?
Yeah, of course. Those comments make me fired up the most. I love to silence the doubters. That has always been one of my main motivational points. But when it comes to tournaments, like a few days in advance, I just stop reading like Twitter, Facebook, and so on. Because if I keep thinking about it, then I can't focus. So.
Sure. Okay.
How did you approach the series versus Has then? What were your thoughts as you were sitting there about to play him?
Like I was super. I can't say it without swearing, I guess, but I was really flustered when like his like 9 scout or something that made no sense to me whatsoever. So I was like thinking, is there a proxy in my base? What's going on here? So even when I made the gateway outside, like he had the build order advantage in that game by far. Like I had a gateway out on the map that I couldn't do anything with. So I really thought like I was dead. But then my Oracle, there was no mothership core, and somehow I landed 2 force fields at 1 minute game,
yeah.
like super close. So I think I was just a bit lucky, I guess, but at the same time not.
And then what did it feel like to grab that first win? Was there like a bit of relief? Now you're finally back on that stage and you grabbed a map win?
Yeah, I thought I would be really nervous not playing like in a big tournament for a year. And I just didn't want to go out 0-4 and like disappoint, I guess, is the word, everybody who watched. Since unfortunately I have a name to live up to, even if I'm not as good as I used to be, in my own opinion.
All right, well, I think we're ready back in the production to have a look at the last game, game number 3. So just basically talk us through what you're going through at this point and where we are in the game.
So I delayed my own expansion for a bit to get some more stalkers, because basically Harstem played against Haas and he told me a lot of things about him, like that he likes to go for like Stargate into Dark Templar and stuff like that. So I thought it might be something like that, like he would play a bit unsafe, so I thought if I just apply a bit of pressure, I can cancel it.
Did this
But
surprise you?
my observer, for some reason, went across the map when I thought I rallied it to my core. I was expecting the Dark Templars, but as you see, I did not have the observer at my core, so it made me... I don't know if I was ahead or behind from here. I guess a bit behind, to be honest. 9 probes, I didn't think it was that bad, but...
Were you starting to get a little bit nervous at this point then? I mean, you knew obviously he was going to come for you.
I saw a lot of stalkers, so I was wondering, is he going to like expand and then apply pressure? But I was expecting him to like go all in here. I guess he went for like something in between, I would say. Like he didn't fully commit, like he made some units, but he's still expanding. And I can't really make probes because I don't know if he is going to stop or not. I don't have any hallucinations at the moment, so I can't scout. So I thought if I'm gonna go out, I want to at least like play safe and take it to a long game and see if he is better than me or not.
Was it risky not to move out as you did there? Like if you continued to build stalkers, or were you happy with what you killed before that was able to happen?
I was happy with how it went. I think I lost like a center or something. I killed like 2 stalkers. So of course the exchange was great, but what I did never know was that if he made a nexus, if he made probes, so it was very hard to read the game, which is why I made those stalkers up there, so he would have to like come back.
And then at this point in the game, now it's starting to slow down a little bit. You're able to get your forge in. You're starting to feel comfortable with where you are. You held off that pressure.
Yeah, I felt pretty comfortable at this point, but I still didn't know like what kind of tech it shows. There's so many things in PvP that I don't understand yet. Like it's always been a bad matchup for me, and that kind of threw me off guard. But
the Templar Archives.
But I think by the time he did that damage with that, I already did the damage to him as well, like killing his 3rd base and so on. And I think that he was just flustered way more than me, because I could like out-rotate him, I guess is the word. Like I just went across the map. I killed expansions here and there. I got the better position in his main.
And do you feel more comfortable as the game goes on? Like at this position and the further it goes, the more comfortable you become?
Yeah, I feel just way more confident as long as the game just goes on and I don't die to something stupid.
And this is where you took a huge edge.
Yeah, I had no clue what he was doing here. Like if he was just like joking around or what he was doing, but he like gave me a lot of freebies there. So I thought that if I just push her, there's no way he can defend it, which he couldn't. But then the storm drop came, so I wasn't sure again what was going on in the game.
And from this position, it was pretty much closed out once you got this Nexus.
Yeah, I didn't know if he was making Colossus or not still, so that was also a big deal. Like, to be honest, I didn't have much clue in this game at all. I just played as I always do in practice, like very safe, and eventually I did the more right moves than wrong.
All right, well, that's pretty much it for game number 3. So thank you very much for walking us through that, NaNiwa.
Yeah, thank you very much, NaNiwa. Congratulations to you. NaNiwa moves on to the winners' game. That'll be coming up a little bit later on. Our next game has the 2 men that lost their opening matches for a last chance ditch effort to stay in the competition and make it through to the round of 16. We're going to take a quick break now, but when we come back, that match will be with us. Join us then.